Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show. Hey, don't touch that dial. I have a special guest here. It's really an honor. I have to have someone from the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, a judge in Superior Court. You know, there's Superior Court, then it's Supreme Court, then there's Appeal Court, then the Supreme Court, you know, way on up. So we got, you know, right in the middle there, okay? So my guest today is, and I'm going to introduce you like they do in Madison Square Garden because she's a fighter, okay? And her name is Maureen.
Right.
Lally Green. Okay, all right.
Thank you so much.
Look, welcome to Norristown High School, where we're filming this with our crew here. And it's really a pleasure to have you here. It's an honor to have a Superior Court judge of Pennsylvania here. And so let's tell the people in our area here who you are and tell me something about yourself.
I would be delighted, and I want to thank you for having me on this show and thank this wonderful crew.
You'll get a bill in the morning.
I'll get a bill in the morning. No, but the crew has been fantastic, and it's really a privilege to be here.
What do you think of this crew, huh?
Very, very accomplished for such young.
They talk about high school students, respect, right on the ball.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
So tell me, you're a lawyer. You started out as a lawyer, right?
I am. I actually grew up in a small county out west called Mercer County, and Mercer County, little town called Sharpsville, Pennsylvania, and I'm the oldest of 8 children.
Wow.
And my mom and my dad, they were in World War II, and my mom and my father.
Yeah, both in the service.
Both in the service, and they went to the European theater. Mm-hmm. My mother was a nurse on the field, in a hospital tent, and my dad...
No Band-Aids.
No Band-Aids. It was tough.
She wanted to swim. She got right in the water, right?
Oh, yeah. It was not easy living. And then my father was a physician there, and he worked on the fields. Oh. He was in the foxholes.
What a great background.
It was incredible. Right. And what happened then was they both came back from the war in 1945 and 46. Babies. No, they met at the Veterans Hospital.
Oh.
And then they got married and moved back to Sharpsville, and then Mom started having babies.
Okay.
Yes.
8.
Yeah.
So all right.
So
now
there are 8 of us, and we all pretty much live in the Pittsburgh area. But I do have a sister who lives right out here in Montgomery County.
Okay.
And go ahead.
You have a brother, or not a brother, but a son, right?
I do.
Where's he work?
Okay. I have actually 3 children, and my son works right here in Conshohocken, and he works for GlaxoSmithKline, and he is in he is a bioengineer, and works in the drug purification section of Glaxo, and he really enjoys the job a lot.
And your daughters?
I have 2 daughters, and they're both in their 20s. And my oldest daughter is a teacher, and she teaches in an international baccalaureate high school program in the Pittsburgh area.
What's that do?
Well, what it is, it's like an advanced placement program that is available for students around the world, and they take these tests at the end of the year, and they're in competition with students from around the world. And Katie is a teacher in that program. She teaches psychology, and then she also teaches history.
All right. And then
the other daughter is also in Pittsburgh, and she's getting her master's in special education, and she wants to work with the disabled in the community. Yeah. So she's very involved with the disabled.
That's great.
Yes.
Your whole family's been, pretty involved with working with people, helping people.
Yes.
And you started out, why did you want to become a lawyer?
Why did I be? Well, actually, it's kind of... I know. It's especially back when I was in college, women really didn't go to law school very easily. But what happened was I was studying in college. I was a mathematics major, and I was studying to become a teacher. And so I was helping out some of my friends prepare for their LSAT, their law school aptitude test. And one of them said, why don't you just take the test with us, see how you do? And that's what happened. I took the test, and then I did fine, and then I got serious, and I had to decide if this was something that I wanted to do. And I spoke with a couple of people, including Judge Carol Lose Mansman, who became one of those appellate judges you were talking about on the Third Circuit.
Right.
And she was a friend of mine from back then. And she helped me
Sandra Newman, right?
And Sandra Newman is my friend, and she's right here in
You're talking about women, not too many women involved in criminal justice system, but she was the first assistant DA working in Montgomery County. Because I was a county detective at the time.
Were you?
Yeah, so
well,
I got to know her pretty
Sandra,
well. Still friends. And I helped her campaign when she was running for, what was it, the two courts.
Commonwealth
Court, and then she went to Supreme Court.
And Sandra is still the only woman who has ever won a place on the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
She's still the only
Well, maybe
one.
you'll be the second.
Well, maybe I'll be the second.
Yeah, okay, good. I'm for you, okay. But, okay, now, you went to school. What schools did you go to? People are going to say, well, you know, was it a political appointment? You worked, right? You worked hard. Your family worked hard.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. I went to Duquesne University. It's a school in Pittsburgh. And I went to undergraduate there and then went on through law school there. And then I practiced law for about 9 years with a private firm, and then I went to Washington, and I worked with an agency there called the Commodity Futures Trading Commission.
Whoa. What's
that? It's a long name.
What is it?
It's like the Securities and Exchange Commission, but it deals with the commodity futures markets. So you might hear early morning reports for pork belly futures or corn futures. That's the agency that regulates all that. And then I returned to Pittsburgh, and I was an antitrust lawyer with Westinghouse Electric.
Antitrust.
Antitrust.
What's a little bit on that now?
Well, monopolization, attempts to monopolize, price fixing, those kinds of claims. And
big corporations start working together and cheating people, right?
Well, yes, but that was not what Westinghouse was doing. Actually, Westinghouse, the case I originally was on, or the one I eventually was on, was Westinghouse bringing an antitrust suit against other people for boycotts. But it was a very interesting time, and I had a wonderful experience there. And I got married and had 2 children, and then it was time for me. I was going to step out of the practice and be a full-time mom. And because we didn't have any kind of part-time work back then or flex time. You either worked full-time or you went home.
Right.
So I was going to go home.
And you have a bambino. You go home, just have the bean, and then come back.
That's right. And I had 2 of them. And my dean from the law school called me, and he said, why don't you come and teach part-time at Duquesne? So I could do that with the kids. And so I went and I taught part-time.
Get the feel of people.
Get back.
Not standing behind a bar. In other words.
I worked with the students, and eventually we had another child. The third came along, and then I eventually became a full-time professor of law. And that's what I did for a long time.
You were teaching
in the law school at Duquesne.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I did that from 1983 to 1998. And then Governor Ridge appointed me from being a law professor to the Superior Court.
Superior Court.
And then I ran in 1999, and I won.
You won.
And so I've been on the Superior Court since 1998.
So you're now on the Superior Court.
I'm now on
the
Superior
Court. Well, I just happen to have a friend, and maybe you know him, right? And he was the Superior Court. 2 judges here.
My Lord, yes.
I was refereeing a professional fight at the Spectrum. It was a championship fight, too. Local championship fight. And over here was Judge Moss. Who was a very popular judge here in Montgomery County. And also Judge Cirillo. And they would come to the fights, and after the fights, we would go to an Italian restaurant where we eat. And
Judge Cirillo loved to eat.
Oh, Madonna, he eat.
Well, Judge Cirillo and I were on the Superior Court together.
Together,
before he passed, God rest his soul, and he was a wonderful, wonderful judge. Great jurist.
We were campaigning. We'd stop at different places, a banquet. We'd go to one banquet to another, and he'd say, "You get the rolls, get the cereal. I'm putting the rolls over here, ham over there, and we'd eat on the way out, because he'd go from one place to another,
Right. Well, he was a very, very wonderful man to me, but also an incredible jurist. Very excellent
he
judge.
He handled, I think, the case, the last case anybody was electrocuted.
Did he?
In Montgomery County.
Or
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh,
It was
my.
a sneaker, or whatever.
Yeah, terrible.
But he was
Yeah.
a prosecutor on that.
He was the prosecutor, okay.
And I remember when he was just on, the guy killed the girl. He
gee,
really
terrible.
beat her up and murdered her. And he stood there, I never forget, he said, "Why did you do that to me?" And he tore himself.
Yeah, big man.
Oh,
big
he
man,
was something.
but,
Okay, now, Superior Court. Now, we have, you're a teacher.
Sure.
You're going to educate me now, okay?
Okay.
Educate our people here. Listen, you guys, right? Everybody behind the cameras, listen, all right? Because now we're talking about something. Someday you want to become a lawyer or whatever, or maybe you want to help somebody. Okay, so we have a common pleas court. Common pleas, does that come from the word common sense?
Well, in some respects, one could say that. It's where people could come and make their plea.
Like in Greece?
Well, this is actually all from England. Our system is built on the English system.
Okay.
But here's how the system works in Pennsylvania. It actually starts at the district judge, magisterial district judge level.
Right.
And many of us probably have been there with a parking ticket or a speeding ticket or something like that.
Misdemeanors
Little
and
stuff,
summaries.
Real little stuff, summary
Right, yeah,
offenses.
yeah.
That's the district judge level, magisterial district judge. Now you have a right of appeal into the Court of Common Pleas from that magisterial district judge, and it's a brand new case if you do take it to the Common Pleas Court. But at the Common Pleas Court, virtually all the cases go there. All cases start there, except cases that must go to a court called...
You're like a screening?
Well, there is a law out there that says some cases have to go through an agency, and some cases have to go directly to Commonwealth Court.
Okay.
But other than those cases, everything else starts in the Common Pleas Court.
Common Pleas.
So all your criminal cases, all your family cases, custody, child support cases, all your tort cases, red car hits blue car, contract cases, all of that goes through Common Pleas Court. So it's often, you think of it, it's the place where the people go. Common Pleas.
Okay, good.
Now, so you start there, and sometimes the cases start in an agency, if it's workers' compensation or unemployment compensation, those kind of cases, tax cases, they start in agencies. Most everything starts in the Common Pleas Court. Then there is a right of appeal from the Common Pleas Court to the Superior Court. A right of appeal under the Constitution. So if you don't like the result and you think you have a legal question, you can appeal it to the Superior Court. And the Superior Court has to hear the case.
Okay.
That's what the right of appeal means. Now there are...
To find out if somebody goofed up along the line.
Someone in the Court of Common Pleas may have made a mistake or abused a discretion, his or her discretion. Now, a few cases go from Common Pleas Court to Commonwealth Court, such as zoning cases. So zoning cases will go from Zoning Hearing Board to Court of Common Pleas, but then over to the Commonwealth Court. But most of the other cases go to my court, the Superior Court. Now, there's one exception, maybe two exceptions. In the Common Pleas Court, when there's a death penalty case, the death penalty case jumps over our court and goes right to the Supreme Court. And when there is a challenge to the constitutionality of a law and the Common Pleas Court finds it unconstitutional, there's a jump over our court up to the Supreme Court. So very few cases
Supreme
go
Court
on.
of Pennsylvania.
Of Pennsylvania, right, of Pennsylvania.
And if you don't like that...
You can try to go to the Supreme Court of the United States, but there are very few ways you can get there because basically the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is the last word on matters of interpretation.
Unless it's really something out of whack.
Well, you have to have a federal issue to get to the Supreme Court.
Federal.
An issue under the U.S. Constitution, for example. But the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is the last word on issues involving the Constitution of Pennsylvania. So
they stick right with it.
That's their job under the Constitution, right?
All right. Now, when I think a lot of people should know, what the Miranda warnings.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
When the police officer has to stop questioning and advise them of their rights, what is the exact time when if he goes and knowing that he's going to arrest that guy.
Yeah.
And he starts talking to him and gets some information. Then after he gets this information, he says,
I want to arrest you.
You're under arrest.
Yeah.
Would that be a violation? Or?
Well, here's, it's all a function of the facts.
Because that would come to you,
I
right?
would review those cases, and generally, well, these are the three questions we look at as we review. All these issues are brought at the trial court level, and the trial court has to find the facts and then make a decision what body of law applies. So it might be that is just a police officer talking to the person, may just be a mere encounter. It might be an investigative detention. It might be an arrest. And it depends on what the facts are at that moment in time that the interpersonal relationship occurred, that the quote-unquote encounter occurred. And the trial court judge has to make the judgment call. At this point in time, it was just a mere encounter, therefore not a problem. Or an investigative detention, but he had enough facts to investigate. Okay. For example, say the car, it's in the nighttime and the car is driving without lights on. There's enough, there may be enough information there for a police officer to stop that car because he's breaking the law, because he should be driving with lights on. That's just an example of what might be enough to stop.
Enough, yeah.
Again, they're called
probable cause.
Stops, yes. And in Pennsylvania, when it's a motor vehicle issue, it's the standard is reasonable cause. So it's very a very complicated area of the law, and it's something I look at a lot.
That's why police officers have to make sure that they get everything right, because they can screw up a good case.
Yes, and on the other hand, I think we give a lot of credit. We have to give a lot of credit to our police officers because they are hardworking and they truly try to get it right. And it's tough doing what they do.
Yeah. Well, when I started as a police officer in Norristown, 1951,
that's right.
And they give me a gun and a badge, okay, and 6 of us, and they put it out the street. And they said there was some purse snatchers up on DeKalb Street there. I had a nightstick, a gun, and a badge. And I didn't have any uniform. I had to wait 3 months to get the uniform. I had to pay 20% of my uniform.
Oh, my.
But I had nothing,
not much training.
All I knew was there was a purse snatcher there, and I was going to grab somebody, And but that's the education we had.
Now the
and
education is
thank
incredible.
God we survived it. I didn't violate anybody's rights, and I didn't get killed. I didn't kill anybody else. And I put 37 years in police work, so
wonderful.
So I'm satisfied. But now it's such the technicalities, and that's why a police officer has to really make sure he got everything. And when in doubt, check it out. Get the DA. The DA now. I questioned. I had interviewed the district attorney. He says things are a little different now. The district attorney and the police work hand in hand, very close. Well, it's good one way, and then it's not good another way, because you don't want to be too friendly, because the DA has to look over and make sure that everybody's doing the right thing, and then the judge is looking over to make sure they both do the right thing.
Well, and
am I right on that?
That's the role of the judge is very critical in all of this, and we look at 3 branches of government: the legislative, the executive, the judicial. And the judicial branch is like the referee, if I can use your referee days.
Yeah.
You have to know the law, the rules of the game, whatever the game is you're reffing. You have to really know them cold. And then you're always making a judgment call based on the facts as you see them.
Right.
That's what a judge does. Right. And the judge doesn't bring personal opinions in, doesn't bring his liking of a person over another person. It's all about the law and applying the law to the facts, just like a referee applies his knowledge or her knowledge of the rules to the facts right before them. Right before him or her.
That's good.
Yeah.
The Supreme Court of the United States. Okay.
Yes.
I just happened to be reading the paper the other day, and Supreme Court Justice Scalia, right?
Oh, Justice Scalia, sure.
Very opinionated. I like to hear anybody that's like you. You're a hard hitter, and but he's mentioned here. He was at Villanova University the other day, and he spoke, and they asked him about him being a Catholic. Does that sway you and everything? And he says, there's no such thing as a Catholic judge.
Yeah.
When you're behind the bench, you look at the facts and you journal it. Now, tell me about that.
Yeah.
Now, there's a possibility that if a fella is whatever nationality or religion or something, can sway him, and that would be bad. That would be bad.
Well, that's what we want in that third branch of government is a person who is always fair,
Right.
always impartial, always looking at what the law is before the judge and the facts, the proper
Right,
scope
right.
of review, doesn't legislate from the bench. You know, you really want a judge who knows
Right.
what his or her role is. And he's right, there's no such thing as a Catholic judge, there's no such thing as an Irish judge. I mean, or an
My
Italian
paisan,
judge.
Joe.
Yeah. What you're doing is a job.
The judge, hey, what's the matter with you?
But you know, and I think that the public is beginning to, not beginning, it understands that's what they want as judges.
Right,
They
right.
don't really want people who are anything but fair and impartial people.
Right. Well, I think Montgomery County's been blessed, really.
you have
I've
great
got to
judges,
know most of the judges, when they were just lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
and Judge Morse and Judge Nicholas
Yes.
and Judge Smythe and O'Neill now. They have a drug law, court now. He handles that, the separate
Separate
thing.
court.
Yeah, the separate that handles, and he explained the whole thing. It's pretty good. Pretty good idea, He's very knowledgeable, But now we have, and also we have another judge that was a judge in Northtown. He's I guess he's a federal appeals court, Sharika.
Oh,
Judge,
what a
yeah,
wonderful
yeah,
man
yeah,
he is. Yes,
yeah.
he's very
His-
distinguished on the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
Third Circuit, absolutely.
His-
Yes. And you have a judge on my court from Montgomery County, Judge Susan Gantman.
Who?
Susan Gantman.
Oh, sure. Her father's a
Sure.
doctor in North, lived on
Yes,
Finance Street.
yes,
So I know him,
indeed,
sure.
yes,
That's
he's
right.
on
She's
the-
the Superior Court.
She's on the Superior
That's right,
Court.
right.
So she's here. And of course, the new judge on the Supreme Court has his offices here, although he is from Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Justice Fitzgerald, his offices are here, even though he is.
Who else is on your
He's an
your- right now?
appointment, and Justice Baldwin is an appointment. She's out west.
Who?
Justice Cynthia Baldwin.
Oh, okay.
And Governor Rendell appointed her. And then we have Justice Saylor, and we have Justice Aiken, and we have Justice Castile, who will be the next Supreme Court chief.
Who?
Justice Ron Castile.
Castile used to be
From
the district attorney in Philadelphia.
He used to be the
Sure,
district
yeah.
attorney, right?
He's going to go.
He will be the next chief justice.
That's right. He's the Supreme Court. That's right. That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
And
He's a
then-
good guy. Yeah.
well,
he lost
and-
his leg in the service.
He did.
Yeah,
He,
yeah.
Yes, he did.
I know him well. Right. Right. Nice guy.
He's a great guy, and actually, the Chief Justice is stepping down. Justice Cappy is stepping down at the end of this
Yes.
year.
I read that. Yeah.
And then the next most senior is Justice Castile, so he will then become the Chief Justice.
And Judge Newman, she was the Supreme Court too.
She was too. Yes,
we went-
yes. But she stepped down, and she's doing very well
Yeah,
in her private life.
she's with Cozen O'Connor.
Cozen and O'Connor,
And
right,
when
right.
she was campaigning, Joe Rizzo, Frank Rizzo's brother, we went down to Pat's Steak in South Philly.
gee.
And we had little signs, Buona Fortuna, Sandra Newman.
Sandra Newman.
She wasn't Italian, but
She
I
loved
thought
it.
she had a
Great-
really,
great heart.
Yeah,
She has a
for
great
for
heart.
Italians,
Yes,
she
she
loves
does.
food and then I had some. I got the idea from Judge Bailey, Mayor Bailey from Chicago. I happened to be at
Bailey.
a conference over there,
Yeah.
and they had a big banquet, a couple thousand people, and his opponent, it was a Polish fellow. He had a big long name, all right, and so after the banquet was over, big fundraiser for Daley. They get the fortune cookies. They open it up and it says, "Vote for what's." So I thought it was a good idea. So I had some fortune cookies made with Judge Sandra Newman for Supreme Court.
Oh, my.
So it was
That's-
really nice.
Yeah.
Look, well, tell me. We're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. Something now. Just tell me something about what in your future right now.
What's in my future right now is that I'm actually, I don't know if you know this, but I'm in a campaign for the Supreme Court.
No kidding.
No
I
kidding.
got to see. Is that
That's my button.
When Irish eyes
that's
are
right.
smiling.
That's for good
How
luck.
about that?
How about
Okay.
that? Four-leaf clover.
A four-leaf clover. And you're going to run
I'm
for
running.
Supreme Court.
I'm running for Supreme Court.
Same one that Sandra Newman was in, right?
Same one, and Sandra Newman is my honorary chair, and she's been wonderful to me, very helpful, and we have 20 days to go, so the election day is November 6th.
I wish you luck, and
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a little token here, and you can read it off because you're a teacher.
This is fabulous.
What's it say?
I will. It says, thanks for being a guest on the Hank Cisco TV show, Comcast Channel 27, NASD TV.
That's Marstown.
Thank you so much, Hank.
Grazie.
What a wonderful
All right,
day.
let's have a little bit of toast
Toast.
here. And alla salud. I mean, that's to your health. Okay, everybody?
Slanja.
Okay, now, until we meet again, I'm going to try to bring guests in here so you learn something about what's going on in the world. I got an admiral. He's admiral, and he's retired. He's some kind of congressman. No, not some kind. He's a congressman.
He's a congressman.
He's going to be on, and so we're looking forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments or anything, send them to me. Good, bad. You don't like it, you like it, no problem. Okay. So until we meet again, keep bobbing and weaving. Okay. Grazie.
Thank you so much.
Who got the pizza?